This is Aaron Levine, LG Insurance Agency, and we are rolling with another episode of the Who You Work With Matters podcast. I've got my friend and counsel, Josh Cittadino from Sanvenero and Cittadino Attorneys at Law. Did I say that right?
Well said. Well said.
Some of those Italian
very
names
natural.
are a challenge for a good Jewish boy like myself.
Hey, listen, Italian Jew, so I get it.
So thanks for joining me. I'm glad to have you sit down. As I tell everybody, interviewing lawyers is one of my favorite things because I get free advice. Except I don't know if I need anything from you today, but as we're talking, we'll see what we can pick out. Now, you're a lawyer by way of being a stagehand.
Oh yeah.
So we're gonna get into that whole story. I want to hear about it. I want to share it. I want to figure out where your business is going because I know you do a lot of different things, and I know you like to litigate. I know you get involved in the cannabis industry. You've got a lot of cool stuff going on, so I'm excited to hear about it and learn. And you told me you were at an amazing event last week that we're going to pick up on in a little bit because it correlates to the Elon Musk book that I've been reading. So we're definitely gonna dive into that. So Josh, thanks for hanging out and tell me, give me this stagehand to courtroom story. Let's you got like 4 minutes for that.
Well, first things first, thank you for having me. Greatly appreciate being on the show. Second thing, disclaimer, no legal advice is going on here. Call me, retain me.
This
pay
is for advertising
for your
purposes
fees.
only.
Okay, then we could. Okay, yeah. Now legal advice. All right.
This is a legal advertising.
Yeah, exactly. Now that that's out. So I had a couple of cousins. Well, my father had some cousins. He grew up in the 5 towns on Long Island. My cousin Marilyn and cousin Barbara were Rockettes back in the day.
No way.
In the late 70s, I believe. Father, after Vietnam, worked with his hands, needed a job. Cousin Vinny. Of course, there's always a cousin Vinny.
Of course,
right?
there's a cousin Vinny.
So we got Marilyn, Barbara, cousin Vinny, and then they brought in my dad, and we all worked on stage.
It's like you're one cousin short of being the Sopranos.
Yeah. I don't know.
Not that story?
Yeah.
Okay,
My father worked in the union, local one IATSE's union, built scenery for Broadway shows in most of his entire professional career.
Okay.
And then when I was in high school, I was part of the light bulb cleaning crew. Right? You can't make this stuff up.
That was your actual title.
The bosses or some guys would bring in their kids. We're in high school and like on summer break, and we would literally get Windex and a rag, and we would wipe down every Swarovski crystal in the entire Met Opera. They were everywhere. Wow. And we'd make sure they were all shined up for the summer shows, and that kind of just snowballed into me working every summer in college with the union. I worked in a metal shop. I worked on stage. Set up lighting, set up cameras, got the shows ready for the opera.
Right.
Used to take naps to Pavarotti singing on stage.
But you don't realize how important it is when you're a kid.
Yeah.
Making sure that those crystals are clean and shining and
Yes,
dust
yeah,
free.
yeah.
Now you do.
Listen,
But when you were 15 years old, you're like, what the F am I doing to
all
get
I
a paycheck?
know is that I was making 10x what my friends were making bussing tables at 15 years old or waiting tables. So, I think I made more money as a young teenager than I did as a young adult, honestly. So I was in the union for a couple of years through college, after college, and then I realized I wasn't as tough as my father.
Right.
Soft hands, right? Got to go back to school, try to use the gift of gab, which I got from the Jewish side of the family, and try to use that to project me into some sort of world. And I had a very successful, wealthy uncle who was a lawyer. I think he whispered in my ear as a kid that he makes $1 million a year. I never saw that money, but I was like, you know what? That's what I'm going to do.
That's awesome.
Figured out late in the game though, so it was definitely more of a struggle, not knowing. Some of these kids know they're going to be a lawyer in junior high, prep, work for law firms, study. I went to college to play lacrosse and enjoy myself.
And
so the studying was a little difficult.
I went back to grad school for the exact same reason. I had a good time the first go round, and went back to graduate school. Not as intense as law school, but
intense.
I went back to learn something.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of how it all happened, and then started working in the city, and now I own my own business.
So are you barred in both New Jersey and New York?
First license, I went to school down in Florida.
Okay.
I made sure I got my license in Florida before I left Florida. So I got my Florida bar, passed that bar exam, flew up to Jersey, took my New Jersey exam, and then while I was in sales in Manhattan, I was studying for my New York bar. And I worked for a legal company that sold legal services to law firms.
Okay.
So I knew I wanted to, because I never interned in New York as a lawyer, I knew I wanted to meet lawyers. What's the best way to do that? To sell them some sort of product. So I met every lawyer in Manhattan from being a sales rep.
Right. You're a scrappy little kid back then.
I was a scrappy little, yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
You know, you found your way in the side door to make it happen.
It was a good way to meet people, and then by the time I got licensed in New York, that's when I took my first law job in the city.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you worked in the city. You did that whole grind. Your 90 hours a week.
Definitely a grind.
You know, working it out, and then you moved to Jersey and decided to open up your own business right away, or?
No, I had a good friend I went to law school with. He was kind of unhappy with his job. He was doing great. I worked for a bigger company in the city. Then I worked in-house with a big construction company.
Okay.
Realized I needed to be my own boss, and we said, you know what, let's pull the trigger and open up shop together.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's you know, my story in short is the I can do it better myself story. And then you learn that sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's hard. It's always hard, you know. But being your own boss is enjoyable.
Yep.
Sometimes I tell myself I'd be better off working for somebody else. I'd play more golf that way.
Yeah,
maybe not.
Yeah. Well, my parents owned. My mother owned her own art business.
Okay.
My father at one time owned an own clothing business. I had a lot of family that owned clothing businesses, so that entrepreneurial spirit was always in the family.
Right.
And then I have a problem with authority, so having a boss, I think, it took its toll.
I have a problem with authority. That's why I'm a good litigator.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Hire me because I have a problem with authority. You know what?
You know.
That sounds like a no-brainer.
Yeah, 100%.
So what are the fields of law that you enjoy the most? Where are you seeing your most success and your most enjoyment with respect to litigating or business law, whatever you're doing right now?
Yeah, so working with entrepreneurs, working with businesses, helping them kind of navigate the roads of dealing with partners, dealing with contracts. I find that to be the most rewarding for me because I like to see other businesses succeed. My business partner handles family law.
Wow.
His side of the office is a little bit different than my side. I make dreams come true, and he deals with kind of dreams falling apart.
His office is painted black, and yours is like unicorns and rainbows.
Yeah, well, I try to keep it like that. You know, that's what got me into the cannabis business. Yeah.
So you do cannabis law
I
also.
do. Yeah. Yeah.
It's gotta be a little bit interesting and a little bit different than everything else you're doing.
It's definitely a very regulated industry.
Right.
You know, you're in insurance, there's license, there's credits that you have to keep up with, and there's, you know, a lot of HIPAA and, you know, state, federal laws that you have to comply with. Same thing with cannabis, and just understand, kind of being a jack of all trades kind of attorney coming up through Manhattan. I said, yeah, I could figure out this application.
Right.
And then, you know, you have to tackle a lot of different things in the cannabis industry.
How do you navigate between state and federal when it comes to cannabis, right? Because
Federally illegal. Yep. So right now, big news is that cannabis is a Schedule I drug, right? Which means there are certain tax restrictions. And because it's federally illegal, there's a lot of issues when it comes to actually maybe filing your taxes or having tax write-offs.
Right.
The federal government is trying to change it from being a Schedule I drug to a Schedule III, which is more of a pharmaceutical laws are going to apply. So that's going to open up the door to maybe potential federal funding, banking, and that I think is really going to just completely change the industry. Now the hedge funds of the world will be able to invest and bank safely.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the process we're in right now.
That sounds interesting. Are you down in Washington advocating and
no.
Lobbying? No one's paying you to lobby for it?
No. If somebody wants to pay me to lobby, I'd be more than happy to show up in D.C. But no, I stick with Jersey, New York, Florida. Okay. That's where I'm licensed. I keep it with the states. You know, try to stay away from the federal regulations as best as I can.
That's awesome. So you're you know, the last time we spoke in private, you're trying to continue to grow the business, right? So tell me a little bit about your growth, and let's, you know, hit me with a pain point right now.
3 years. Started with 2 of us. There's about 14 of us now.
That's awesome.
Trying to get to that 25 to 30 mark, in the next couple of years. Pain point right now is that we've outgrown our space. Looking for expansion. With that comes cost.
Right.
Because we're at the infancy stages of our business. It's really all hands on deck. Maybe in 20 years I could say, I don't really need an office. Everybody can be remote. I know the people that I have that help support my business. But now, you have to lead by example. You got to be there for support, whether it's, someone's a shoulder to cry on or to make sure the work is actually getting done.
Right.
So, right now it's just finding the right people, continuing to expand, and having them understand that it's really a team sport here. Right. And people got to sacrifice, so different roles.
You're expanding on all fronts, with attorneys and with administrative and clerical and all of it.
All different directions.
Everything that you need to continue to
absolutely
to operate and grow. And I think that's fantastic. I struggle with the where do we work conversation.
Oh yeah.
Right. And I have several of my team members are full-time remote.
Mm-hmm.
I see all sides of it.
Yeah.
I used to track a lot of it, like early COVID when, we were good. Everybody was able to take their laptop, their monitor, and their phone, walk to their car, go home, plug it all back in, and we were up and running.
Perfect.
Like
beautiful.
Fully virtual. Life is good. I'm like, this is great. I got rid of half my office space, reduced my rent by $2,800.
Love it.
In an instant, basically. I'm like, virtual is the best. Then I'm like, as the software that we had on the computer, I'm like watching. I'm like, this one's watching YouTube. That one's playing video games. Then I canceled it because I didn't want to see it anymore.
Yeah.
Because if I have it in front of me, I'm like watching it. Like I know what's going on, and it's okay that I know what's going on. But if I see it, and blood boils.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I got rid of the tracking software. My employees won't listen to the podcast, so they won't have a clue. They probably still think it's on there.
Yeah. That's good.
But
did you have access to the camera? Are you like staring at them? Or?
No, that's aggressive.
That's aggressive.
That's aggressive, and I don't know if that's legal. Yeah. But that's
sign here.
That's crossing the line a bit. But the software that we were using would screenshot every minute. Would screenshot the desktop.
That's a lot of data.
So you see what
Yeah.
applications are open on the screen.
It's great.
At all times, right? So it's screenshots, keystrokes, what websites they're all on. You know, you could see the websites. Thankfully, nothing illegal or illicit was being, but there was a lot of YouTube. So I had to blacklist YouTube. I had to blacklist certain websites. I'm like, this is getting out of control.
Yeah.
So I got rid of it. And it still happens, and we know it happens, but as long as we're getting our work done, it's fine. And lately I've been trying to move to more of a hybrid and bring people back to the office, get that camaraderie back up, because you lose that in the virtual environment.
Yeah. And how many employees do you have?
We're 14 people right now.
How long have you been at that stage for?
We keep adding. You know,
okay.
Rich just joined us. So I have 4 team members in the Philippines full time.
Nice.
And they're team members. They're employees of ours through staffing firms, just because I don't want to deal with legal or laws or anything else in another country.
Yeah.
Taxes.
No.
I don't deal with it. So we use a staffing firm, IT. I don't deal with their technology problems. If you have a tech problem, the consultants that we use, the staffing firms that we use, have people there to help solve those problems. It's not my job. My job is to help people buy insurance and service those insurance policies, answer their questions about risk management, and find other things to do.
Well,
right? My job is to make money, not handle IT problems.
No, 100%. And that's where I see maybe some of the stress of the struggle with the growth aspect of the business is that I want to make myself, my firm more efficient.
Right.
I want to be able to accomplish more work, satisfy more clients. Now, how do you integrate the artificial intelligence or the third-party staffing or the brokers that are going to maybe add costs but maybe cut costs in the, long term, right? Instead of paying a full-time secretary to sit at the front desk and answer calls all day long, maybe I could find a staffing company that could do it at a fraction of the cost. Is that going to build the culture, though, that you want in your firm or your business? And that's like the balancing act that we're constantly fighting.
It's a challenge, and the only way to learn that is to make mistakes.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Make a lot of mistakes, and just as long as they don't cost you too much money, and to fix them quickly is the only way to do it. And, like I'm reading Elon Musk's book right now, and, he talks about Tesla automation and that his goal originally was to fully automate Tesla. We don't need humans. This is a robot factory to build robotic cars because we're going to go to Mars someday. Yeah. And he admitted, he's like, I over automated it. We still need people to do certain things because people can still do it better than robots.
Different aspect of it.
So can you outsource some stuff? Yes. Yeah. Do you need in-house some stuff? Can people be remote? Like you need a nice, perfect, a harmonic blend.
Yeah. Well said.
Right? Like it's not work-life balance, it's work-life harmony. It's being able to, have fun, have friends, have family, and have finance, right? All work together. Fitness and health are in there also, right? There's 4 F buckets or 5 F buckets, whatever it is. That's from another book called Driven. But they don't talk about work-life balance. They talk about how do you harmonize it. Sometimes you need to focus more on finance and get that back up. Yeah. Other times you need that fitness, the mental clarity.
No, I think I think you're right. It definitely all works together.
You just gotta make your mistakes and and continue to grow. But if you have the right staffing firm helping you, then you can get things done. And it's giving up that power, I think, is super important as you continue to grow.
And some mentors of mine say hire slow, fire fast.
Right.
And you want to live by that, but sometimes letting people go is really tough. I hate doing it. You have to do it, but it's a tough situation.
Right.
When I'm the kind of employer or boss or whatever the title is that I want to become friends with my employees. I want to hear about their families. I want to be out at dinners and family events because that builds a relationship that my family had as their, as they owned their businesses. Most of my family's businesses were employed by other family, but you that camaraderie and that trust, I know that this person has my back because of the relationship that we built, as opposed to just such a corporate environment. So, it's tough though, especially when things happen.
It is. So how are you bringing business in? You're continuing to grow. What are you doing to market and continue to grow the business? How's that happening?
Yeah, so, we're fortunate. My business partner's been in the area. He's in Freehold now, and he really has a lot of connections in the area. We have a lot of word of mouth. We do a lot of social media, kind of blog setup like this.
Right.
We talk about hot topics in the legal world. A lot of Trump talk lately. A lot of Mike Tyson talk lately.
I was about to say the Mike Tyson talk. I do.
Yep.
I catch your Instagram. Yeah. Your Instagram reels. You guys do a great job of getting content out there, and it's not easy. To get content out there because you have to constantly be doing it. Because once somebody sees one thing, it's done.
Yeah.
Right. Then they're like, all right, what's next? Right. Our attention spans are so short that we just got to keep putting content out there.
Instant gratification with everything we have out there, right? So
same thing with this podcast, right? We're going to talk for 25, 30 minutes, whatever it is today. I don't care about the long form YouTube. I don't care about the data that this is going to bring in. But when we clip it into Reels and YouTube Shorts, that's when we get a lot more pop for it. That's when we can collaborate with you, and that's we're working together. Really comes into play. Like the Who You Work With Matters is a hashtag that I was using for years.
I like it.
Right, just about connecting and working with good people, but then taking it to another level is we need powerful who's in our lives. Right, our employees are who's. People that we network with are who's. Yeah. Everything that we do is based around other people helping us create success, which is what you've done, right? Even from when you were cleaning crystals and light bulbs, you were a who in someone else's machine.
Those are some good connections.
And those are some good connections.
Yeah.
Right. And so you never know where your next opportunity is going to be, but it's all about the who's that you meet along the way that trust you to want to do it. I texted you a couple weeks ago from somebody that had a situation, and I made a recommendation because I can trust you to have that conversation, and hopefully you can make some money out of it and help solve it for the person for whatever issue that they're having. But it's having the right people in your corner at all times is going to be important, and people are not going to be replaced by robots.
No. It's scary out there, but I think you're right. I mean, the network you have to be a successful business owner has got to be vast. Right. I like to just not be the lawyer for a friend or a client, but hey, I need an architect, I need an engineer, I need an insurance guy, I need a social media guy. Right. Don't worry, I got you. And I like to be that connector or that fixer to their issue, because that makes me more valuable.
Right.
And whether it's actual value or not, but it just makes me have a better connection.
Right.
Because if I pass them along to someone who does a great job, then that person is more grateful for my advice or my connections as well. So
right.
I'm always trying to build my network, always trying to meet anybody and everybody. You never know where your next client is going to come from.
You never know. But it's funny. So when we had met probably in years past, and then we connected through a group that we're both a member of, Blue Water Wave. Shout out to you, Bridget. It's a really nice high-level networking group in New York and New Jersey with some very interesting people, some very successful individuals, throughout the group. Then you and I sat down, we had lunch. Then the next 3 days in a row, we saw each other at the same restaurants. All with different people. It's a good thing we weren't like dating, because then it would have been like super awkward. But
crisscross,
But we the next couple of days we're like, we just had the same exact lunch schedule with different people from different different walks of life. So it's just great. And I'm like, we got to get you to sit down on the microphone and talk about your business a little bit and see where things are going, because this is how I learn. I learn from people by having these conversations. And I love when I'm sharing, if I'm going to introduce you to somebody and we're like, hey, by the way, you can learn a lot more about them by listening to this for the next 25 minutes to hear about this conversation. Then you'll be able to really get a gut feeling if you think, oh, Josh is the guy, he can help me out. I like his demeanor, I like his attitude, I like what he's doing, right? It's a great way to do it, so I love the whole work of it. So tell me, you were at an event a couple of weeks ago, Hampton's Tech Week.
This past week. Yeah, Wednesday.
Well, based on when this show comes out. Oh, all
right. A couple weeks ago, Hampton Tech Week. It's actually run by a gentleman here in the Red Bank area, Steve Sabo.
Okay.
Great connect, great businessman. He's in the financial industry. He invited me out there, and it's a very small conference.
Okay.
And people get on stage. I think we talked about media and entertainment.
I'm picturing like spotlights and beach house and white party and like
very, very close to that. So we stayed at this place called the Longhouse Reserve.
Okay.
I think 20, 30 acres in East Hampton, which is the furthest Hampton. Definitely the most expensive Hampton. And besides the fact that it took hours to get out there,
besides the fact,
it's a privately run estate.
Okay.
Art all over the estate,
nice.
Paths where you could walk through the estate and check out these sculptures.
Right.
And then they had these unique speakers. I mean, from Google, from Meta, from big VCs, private investors. They came out and they spoke about startups, and in the AI world and in the tech world, essentially.
Right.
So you got to hear different groups of people, what their experiences are, whether they started a company, sold it, whether they invested in a company, what's the future of AI.
Right.
And these are people that are really on the forefront of, designing these companies.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was one company there. It was the third most downloaded app on the App Store for Apple phone. I never even heard of the company.
Right.
But they're just crushing it right now.
Right.
And it was great because I got to sit and talk with, CFOs, CEOs. We all hung and had some drinks afterwards. It was very intimate.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was great. It was actually one of the best conferences I've ever been to because of its intimacy.
Small, it's intimate. Yeah, I love those kind of events. I'll be away in a couple of weeks for something very nothing like that, but it's a group of insurance agents that come in from all over the country, and we meet once a year. And it's like we're family, and the way we drink and hang out and work in between, because these are the smartest insurance people that I know that are doing things a little bit differently and are not just, taking an electronic application and writing an insurance policy for a small business, which is fine. And we do that. But when you're dealing with risk management and larger commercial, there's so much more involved, and there's so much competition, especially from the bigger companies out there, that this is a way for us independent agents to be a little bit scrappier, use technology to our advantage, But the AI conversation, it's funny, in reading the Elon Musk book, I think he said in 2015 or maybe before that, he invested $5 million into OpenAI, which is ChatGPT. So we're 10 years later, and this thing was already been started in the early 2000s.
I think
just nobody knew about it.
Yeah.
Right? But it just became mainstream with ChatGPT, and now AI is all of a sudden the buzzword, right? But the more automation you put in, the more humans you need backing it and setting it up and organizing it. And we use a ton of different, my tech stack is kind of silly, but I'm trying to continue to make my processes easier for both the consumer and my employees.
100%.
Right? Like, I want their lives to be better so they can talk to more people. Their money is better spent talking to people than putting data into a computer. So the more things we can automate in the computer, the more conversations we get to have and be more human being to human being. And I don't see anywhere that I'm going to save money with tech. It's just going to help me make more money.
Well, the efficiencies and then the profitability based off that efficiency. So where can you scale by being more efficient? How could I use this AI or this tech to now scale my business and bring it to the next level? Right. And that's again, it's it's kind of trial by error.
Yeah,
and you use one company and then figure out what the deal is.
I'll use Gemini or Chat if I'm writing a blog and I have writer's block. I'll say, okay, give me 10 bullet points around this topic.
Perfect.
And I'll get them.
Yeah.
And then I write my own thing from there.
Well, that's the important thing. Especially in the legal world, there's a lot of people maybe...
Has anybody gotten caught?
Yes. In court, quoting the wrong case law, and it backfired.
I love that.
So, but for...
Not you.
No,
for the
definitely not. No, definitely not. But for are there other things that can be written by AI? Right now, I think I'm going to be interviewing with a company soon to see if I'm going to bring them on board, and it's an AI program for law that could scan, read, and analyze contracts. You look at insurance policies. If you're looking at two insurance policies, what's the differential? What's the risk here? What's the pros and cons for a construction business as opposed to a cannabis business?
Right.
And the AI could actually read the policy and red flag certain things. Right. Okay, great. Now I have to do my due diligence and go back and fact check it to make sure the AI is not wrong.
Right.
But it might be able to scan a 600-page document and at least flag and earmark some things faster than I can. So why wouldn't I want this capability for my law firm?
It's interesting you say that, because if I'm quoting a larger business and, not all quotes are created equal depending on where we're getting them from, I have to, right now we're manually trying to find the differences, and it's, what did I miss?
Yeah.
Right? If I miss something, I pay a lot of money for my own insurance. But if I miss something and we forget a coverage or something's excluded and we didn't pick it up, I'm working on a new prospective client, a new client of ours, soon to be client, hopefully. They're a large nightclub.
Love it.
There's a lot of exclusions on that policy.
Yeah.
But it's making sure the insured knows what they're paying out of pocket for and what the insurance is covering for is kind of important. And I can miss something because those policies are, some of the worst contracts out there when it comes to high risk, enterprises.
Yeah. And whether you use it to start off or use it to finish, just having some sort of computer generated system that could double check, triple check, again, that's where you're going to cut your teeth and make your profitability for this kind of client.
I think that's the next piece of tech. I need to figure out who's using it and where it's going and how to make it efficient, because it's out there.
Don't worry, I got a guy.
You got a guy.
I got a guy.
I freaking love it. But this Tech Week sounds awesome, and it's the network, right? It's the people. It's that network effect. Is how you're going to continue to grow your business over the next couple of years.
Typically, when you have a speaker on stage at one of these events, 10,000 people, everybody bum rushes the stage, or they want to go speak to Tony Robbins. It's never happening, right? You had a better chance getting close to the president than you do.
Right.
One of these speakers. So this event was, they came off the stage and then they sat in the chairs next to you to listen to the next speaker.
Right.
And then we went and we grabbed a water, a snack, and you mingled. And if you didn't speak with the one guy who spoke on this one panel or one lady, then you saw him 20 minutes later.
Sure.
So you constantly had networking opportunities to meet people, understand who they were. Don't overly sales pitch them with your business, but get to know the people, be genuine, and try to build a relationship from there. And that was.
Listen, you get to connect on LinkedIn, and then you have a face with a name, and then when you have a question or a need or something, there's that opportunity. You're not selling Google your services.
No. But
maybe someday.
Yeah.
But right now, it's not happening. But they can be so much more helpful if you have that name to ask somebody. I was in a room a couple of weeks ago with some of the insurance leaders. There's a group out there, I'm not going to mention name, but there's decision makers at some of the larger vendors in our industry, plus at the carrier level, that I was in a room with. These are the people that make the decisions, and now I have a face and a name and a cell phone number, and if there's something that I think I need help with, and I have that contact. It's great. They're not going to be my client, right? But I can probably connect with them to help make the industry better, which is also something that I advocate for. I do a lot of work in the insurance industry as a whole to advocate for both agents and the consumer alike, because when our lobbyists are in Trenton or Washington talking about issues with our congresspeople and our delegation, they don't know anything about insurance.
No. Well,
they call us. Somebody proposes a bill and it makes no sense. We have to talk about the implications of it. So, I enjoy, that side of the government affairs and the relationships on the legal side. The government side of things is very interesting, especially in insurance talk. There's always a lot going on.
Well, it was funny because at Hamptons Tech Week, they said last year the biggest thing to talk about was blockchain.
Right.
Blockchain. Now, blockchain's not even a topic of discussion.
Interesting.
NFTs, done. Blockchain, done. On to AI.
Right.
What is it going to be next year? And, it's funny, as an attorney, I'm sitting in the crowd, and I said, I haven't heard any discussion on stage about securities laws and compliance, which obviously is, the deciding factor that really controls all these industries.
Yeah.
So, they got into it later on in the conference, but it's always good to be lobbying with the right people, to have connections that help draft the legislation, because then you understand what's happening next and, how to prepare for it, especially for your clients.
Yeah. So if for anybody in any other industry, getting involved in your industry association, I think is important. Right?
Yeah, very.
I think that's a big deal. If you want to be better than your competitors, you have to be involved on a much higher level, plus bring in and invest in people and the technology around you. And that's the way to separate yourself, right? Yeah. You listen to Alex Hormozy or any of these other, self-proclaimed gurus. I don't even want to use the word guru, but there's a lot of things out there to help you get yourself to another level. It can go any different direction.
You want to hear something wild in the AI world?
Yeah.
So when you think AI, draft me 12 bullet points on happiness, on whatever, right? Now, AI has the capabilities of responding to you based on the way you ask the robot. Are you asking in a nice manner, or are you cursing at AI and saying, draft me this, bleeping now?
Right.
Different responses. So now you have AI that may or may not be as accurate as you think it is, because your tone of voice, which, if you're an angry boss, you want AI because you could yell at the computer all day long and it could spit out, facts and details. Right? You can't treat employees like that, so you yell at the computer. Okay, but now the AI actually is changing and it's adapting. It can pick up your tone, your sarcasm, and you're like, wait a second, is this really what I want to help my business become more successful?
Well, it's that confirmation bias, right? If it picks up how you're writing something or putting something in, it's going to give you that confirmation biased response.
Correct.
Which is part of the danger in relying on it. You mentioned there was a case where an attorney used an AI-generated ChatGPT response without any references to it, and it was totally false. Well, that's what somebody gave the machine that data.
Yeah.
It's machine learning is machine learning. Somebody fed the machine false data, and there's a lot of it out there, and it's all confirmation biased. and you can ask it the same, if we got political and we ask the same question in, pro-Trump or pro-Biden, you're going to get a different answer based on a straight question.
And that's where you need the human aspect to monitor the biases of the AI, which you would never think, but that's where the human touch comes into play. Not only that, they also said something along the lines that you could ask AI to read 2 different codes for tech, and 2 different AI companies, either ChatGPT or OpenAI, could read the same code and give you different answers. So right. Now, how do you actually fact check whether that AI did it properly? Which is, kind of scary. They're on the forefront of tackling these issues, but
right.
How do you know with what he said is accurate?
Right. And then the security of it. There's like you mentioned before, there's so many different layers and so much more excitement around it. It's funny you mentioned that blockchain wasn't even talked about at this Hamptons Tech Week. That it's still out there. I don't know what Bitcoin is up to today or down to today. Nvidia is a much more exciting conversation in the stock market than Bitcoin today, but that'll change next week anyway. And AI is not taking our jobs. That's why the podcast is the Who You Work With Matters podcast. It's all about the use. It's not the robot.
Not what you work with. Yeah.
It's not the what AI do you work with. Yeah. That'd be. Yeah. I'm sure somebody has an AI podcast that talks about different AI technologies to take away the human interactions. But we're going to go the exact opposite of that. Josh, thanks so much for hanging out today. Sanvenero Cittadino Law is the at Instagram, the sclawoffice.com on the web, or just comment on our YouTube, Instagram, or whatever social you're watching this on, and we'll get you in touch with Josh's firm to help you with any and all of your legal and business matters. Josh, thanks again for hanging out today.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Pleasure being here.